Hey everybody, it's your old pal Mike. I hope you're happy, healthy, and safe, and welcome back to the channel, because today we're going to be talking about something that vastly improved my quality of life, and that, friends, is this functional, beautiful, well-made set of guitar racks called DRS Racks, and they are made by my good friend Doug Cower and his merry band of rebels. What do you think DRS stands for? Doug rules softly. You know, he's not a tyrant, he's not some oppressive dictator. He wields his power not as a cudgel, not as an iron fist, but more like a velvet hammer. You know, Doug's gentle, he's kind, he's good-hearted. I think that might be it. Now, Cower is a company that you surely know of because of their incredible instruments that they build. They build guitars, baritones, 12 strings, basses, all manner of electric instruments, and I think even some ukes that are pretty cool too. Now, I've known Doug for years. He's a good friend, and his employees too. I know some of them. They're all fantastic people who are passionate about building quality stuff, and that is evident in the DRS racks. I was able to get my hands on one of these because of a recent scratch and dent sale, and you know how I feel about things that are scratched and dented. Give me that discount, daddy! And because of that sale, I was not only able to afford one rack, but two here to double my pleasure and double my fun. And I have got to tell you, this is a vast improvement over the crappy stand that I was using before. Previously, I was using a stand from Proline, black, tubular metal, very bare bones, barely balanced. I think I got that from Guitar Center in like 2009, and I used the hell out of it. Like, it was falling apart by the time I got these. You know, I used it on stage, I used it at recording sessions when there weren't other stands available. I brought it with me everywhere, and by the end, like, I had to adjust it every single time I brought it out because it would just fall apart. So this, yeah, this makes me absurdly happy. Like, there's no feeling like walking into the room here and seeing 8 of my best friends all waiting for me. It's like living in Weezer's In the Garage. With my racks, I feel safe. Now, if you're not aware, Cower's DRS racks come broken down and packaged up in such a way that you are meant to assemble them yourself. Not just some assembly required, all assembly required. It's kind of like buying furniture from IKEA. I cower, I guess, but it actually went really smoothly. And the instructions are incredibly clear. There's no mistaking which bolt goes where. I think the only problem I had was figuring out which side was the interior and which side was the exterior. And what I found is that the exterior is just a little bit glossier than the interior. So keep that in mind if you yourself are buying one of these. The DRS racks took me about 30 minutes to put together each, and that's just because I'm slow and very meticulous, some would say picky, which is absolutely true. But thankfully the racks come with everything that you're going to need to put them together. All of the bolts and an Allen key to screw them in, even an Allen attachment for a drill, which I found incredibly handy for getting the bulk of the work done. I would not, however, recommend finishing off the bolt with the drill itself. Use the drill to get it the whole way in there, but once it's there and it's time to tighten, definitely switch to the Allen key so you can feel the resistance, because there was one bolt right here, I believe, that I kind of overdid it with. Now, thankfully, that bolt is only here to hold this part of the rack together, and I have no worries about it. That's just a thing that I did. The only other issue I had when I was building these, you remember I mentioned that it took about half an hour to put them together? Uh-oh. 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 I think my bolts fell out in post. Well, the bottom box had opened in shipping, and so all of the bolts were missing, and the instructions and the Allen keys. It's not Cower's fault that that happened. That's not a knock against them. Box just got mistreated in shipping, and that sucks. But I am here to report that they were very quick on the draw to get me the parts I needed. I think I only had to wait about a day to get the bolts back, so yeah, it really wasn't that big of a deal. About the only other issue I had with the Cower DRS racks was figuring out which guitar goes where, because I gotta tell you, it was an exercise to figure out which guitar I wanted to go where, which ones I wanted most easily accessible or at eye level. Of course, the Sparkle Jag needed to be the first thing that I saw when I walked into the room, but you know, finding the right spot was tricky. but that's just because I'm an aesthetic boy. I like the way things look. I wanted this to be perfect. So you see I've got the Sparkle Jag, I've got R2, I've got my 6612 here, I've got the American Pro because I'm using it a lot right now in preparation for that big review that's coming up, so stay tuned for that. And thank you to the patrons for helping me not only with the outline and script, but for helping me organize my thoughts and get me ready to do the bulk of the work on this. I'm really excited and I can't thank you enough for working on it with me. And on the bottom rack, I've got Pancake, I've got C3PO, I've got Han, the Charcoal Frost Jag, and I've got Vader, my baritone. They all fit. And you might have noticed already that I've got only offset guitars in this rack, and that's not because you can only put offsets in this rack, but the rack is designed to accept offset body shapes a lot more readily than certain other stands I've used, that Pro line included. Every time I set my guitars down in that Pro line, they would kind of twist and shift around, but these pads here, these black pads, are shaped and angled in such a way that they just fit real nice, real snug in here. I don't have to worry about shifting or the guitars falling through. I feel like it's really sturdily built. Oh, and before I forget, on the website, DRS claims that you need about 8 feet of floor to ceiling space to get the most out of the racks, and I would say that's probably true. However, if you look up here, these ceilings are literally 8 feet high. They stop right there, we measured, and looking at it now, I would say that I've still got plenty of headroom, even with this 12 and its freakishly long headstock, where I don't need to worry so much about hitting the ceiling when I'm putting a guitar up there. So yeah, 8 feet is good, but if you have a little bit less, you might still be okay depending on what kind of guitars you use. Now keep in mind that offset guitars are indeed a little longer in a stand than, you know, generally like a Les Paul or something like that. As I said before, I am in love with this stand. I love having my guitars at the ready. I've been working on a lot of music projects lately, and for me, being able to just pull one down when I'm in the middle of coming up with parts, being creative, that has really improved my workflow. So I thank Cower and DRS Racks for doing that for me. However, if there's one criticism I have, and I'm sorry, Doug, I gotta say it, these little foam pads are a little bit rickety. That's a thing that gently I would suggest fixing in the future. And the website mentions that they're safe for nitro finishes, and that has been my experience. All of these guitars have been in here for weeks. I have detected 0 burn marks from it like you would find with other foams. So that's great. It's just that it looks like they're hot glued down and not very securely. So I'm gonna have to redo that at some point. But that really is the biggest issue I have with it. The only other thing that really sticks out to me, and this is more of a me thing than a Cower or DRS rack thing, is that straps are not exactly the most attractive things in the world on this rack. And you know, most of the examples on the website have the guitars seated in the stand without straps, so maybe it was designed with that intention. But for me, I like to keep my straps on, I like to stand, I like to move around, and I've got these like rubber Grolsch gaskets on everything, so it's not like I'm taking them off a lot, but I see them dangling down and it bugs me a little bit. And when I'm trying to extract a guitar, it's very easy to come into contact with the straps. Of course, I could just not be a lazy douchebag and move the strap first, but I want to complain, so that's a problem with your stand, Doug. No, but I think having something like a crossbar here that you could tuck them in might be a good idea. Maybe I'll modify mine with one just to tuck them in and get them out of the way and make it easier to get to the ones on the bottom. But also, if you check out the very bottom, it's also kind of messy down here. Yeah, the straps just hitting the floor, also not attractive. Now, another thing I want to tell you is that on the website, all of the guitars are facing the other way, which maybe that's why this is a problem for me. And you can see it also does kind of give the headstocks a little bit more room to not hit the back wall. So maybe I should be, you know, changing the orientation, but this isn't the way that I choose to live. I like to grab a thing off the rack and then it's ready for me to play. It's in my playing position. Whereas if I grab it the other way, I don't know, I gotta flip it. It's not a singular motion. It's not that easy. So, I don't know. I think I'm gonna keep it this way, and I'm just gonna complain. And maybe I'll text Doug later and tell him I found a flaw in his thing. Like my opinion matters. But those little criticisms I have really don't amount to much when you consider just how good this stand is. It is attractive, it is well made, it is beautiful. Even for a scratch and dent model, it's really difficult for me to find exactly what the scratch or dent is. And I think what that might be would be the presence of a void or two. Yeah, one right here in the bamboo construction, but honestly, that doesn't bother me at all. This thing is so big and beautiful. So while I have loved the DRS racks, I do also want to say that I'm considering a couple modifications to this because you know me, I love to make things my own, and that includes maybe putting, I don't know, like a string swing right here for my lap steel, or maybe two, one for the lap steel and one over here or down here for my 8-string Fender mandolin. I think that might be good, just to have more instruments at the ready. I would also love a place for my bow, my cello bow that I use when I try to pretend that I'm in Sigaros. I've got a bow that I like to also have handy because sometimes I just want to grab it, make some noise, put it back. It's kind of a pain to put it back in its box. So that would be a modification I would make, but I think honestly it's the only thing I'd add. Maybe that crossbar, like I said, but that's me. I might be using the stand wrong. So in conclusion, the DRS racks, Doug Rules Softly, is a fantastic addition to my little workspace that I'm still putting together. It's been a long process, but we're getting there, and this has helped immensely. Again, having the guitars at the ready, that blows my mind. I love this. I'm usually a guy who keeps his guitars in their cases, but those cases are in the closet now. There's not space for them, so this is the next best solution. And yeah, I don't know, just really makes me happy to see all my friends here waiting for me in the garage. So yeah, in conclusion, Doug Cower, company, everybody, well done. I love you. Thank you so much for the scratch and dent model. Oh, and before I forget, let's see what it sounds like. Oh yeah, it's good wood. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're taking care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you in the next one.